We are on sheet 15 now. So we're trucking along on these lessons, and it wants us to save it, and then we want to open the challenge sheet again. So here I go. And this is for Frontier Kids cookie sales. So this is sort of like Girl Scout cookies, I suppose. So they want us to fix the formula in cell C10 so it finds the average number of units sold by all of the troops. So this particular lesson is talking about using the functions. And so I'm going to make this go bigger so we can see our little function menu. So this one, do you see what the problem is with this one? So it has average, it has the right function, but it's just missing one thing. Can you see what it is? Every single formula has to start with an equal sign. So I had to put that in there, and you see it changed. Before it was just text, and now it knows that it's a formula. So it now has average. So in here, I'm just going to show you where it is. Do you see how it has average right there? So you don't even have to remember the format. So it has the average number of cookies sold now, or average number of units. Now this one put 855.6. So what I don't like about that is you can't have a half of a unit. So you can't sell a half a box of cookies. So I think that this should be rounding. So one of the things that you can do is, do you see up here, this decreases the number of decimal places and this increases it. So sometimes in science with significant figures, you need to have, if you're taking chemistry, you need to have sig figs, and I'm not sure what else. That's the only one I can think of. I am not a science major, but I want to decrease it. So I don't want as many. So you can see it has the arrow, so the icon looks pretty meaningful. So if I click on that, then it took away the point. And so now it's just 856. So it did, do you notice it rounded down? It didn't round up for me. I'm just going to have it increase. Let's see, or maybe it did. 855 it was before. Oh, it did round it up. It rounded up to 856. So it did do the rounding. In science, you can't necessarily round. Sometimes in math, you can't necessarily round. But I think in terms of logical situations, you can't obviously have a half. So I like to round. So totally up to you. I just wanted to point that out. So now this one is total units sold. And we had used this function before. I hope that you remember. If you click on the function, you're going to go to sum, and it puts the equal sign in automatically. So I want to add all of the units that we've sold. But I don't want to get the average units. I just want to go to there. So you have to make sure you only go to 9, because you don't want to add this in, because that's the average of all of those other figures. And I'm going to hit enter. So that looks good. And that makes me want to double check this. Oh, there was another problem. I'm glad I double checked. So not only did this one not have the equal sign, do you notice that it didn't go down to the right cell? It's stopping at C7, so it's not using the Green Valley or the Riverview in the average. So I know I need to switch that. So I can do one of two things. I can just click in here and delete the 7 and make it the 9. So I could do it like that. Or I could have clicked and dragged. So it just depends on what you want to do. So now that has the average. So now I'm going to double click again. So I like the double click because then it shows me visually what I've done. So that's good. I'm going to double click here and make sure that one, yep, that one's still good. Excellent. And so now the last one it wants us to do is the most sold. So the most, if we look in the formula bar here, we can probably see the max, the maximum. Who sold the most? So we're going to click on that. So it's going to put max in the field. And now I'm going to click inside and I'm going to drag down. And again, I'm being very careful not to get the average units. I don't want that one. I only want to go to C9, and then I hit enter. And I get 1,004 for the most sold. And so visually I can look and I can see that that's right. Now you're saying probably, like, why didn't you just type that in? You can obviously tell it's the 1,000. It sticks out because it's bigger than the rest of the numbers. It has more digits. True. But imagine if it was all of the cookie sales for all of the troops in the United States of America, or even just in Massachusetts. So it could get very cumbersome. You're not going to want to, sift through that many data points. And so it's really good to know these formulas up here, or these functions. And again, you can click here to get even more functions. And look what happens when I click on that. I'm just going to show you. So it gives a whole function list. So it talks about arrays. Oh boy, look at all this. So there's all sorts. There's logarithms. What else are there here? So things I don't even know. Variances. So these are all scientific. It does counts. I like counts. Sometimes it counts how many certain things you have. So it's a lot of database formulas. So there's lots of stuff here that if you're doing some advanced things, you might want to look. You can narrow it down by typing a few keywords. So most of you won't need to go there. That's why Google was very kind and put the top ones that people will use out there, but there are more behind. And when you're in science classes, especially in college, you will encounter those. All right, so I'm going to go back to the directions. So I'm going to make sure I did everything. So I wrote a function that would find the total amount. I did that. In cell C12, write a function that will find the largest number of units sold by a troop. And when you're finished, it should look like this. So 849, I think it's the exact same. We're just going to make this small. And we're going to double check to make sure, because sometimes they make mistakes. No big deal. But that's why we verify 849, 849. 5,943, 5,943, 1,004, 1,004. I have it exactly as I needed to have it. So I'm now done with lesson 15.